A VA denial isn't the end. It's usually the beginning of getting your claim right. Claims often get denied, or we call it lowballed or low rating, for say 3 or 4 different reasons. The first one, the most common, is no nexus. So I'll tell you about my claim. So I filed for plantar fasciitis. I have plantar fasciitis bilateral, which means I have it in both feet. I filed that claim. I know damn well it started when I was in the service because I remember exactly when I started having feet problems. I was climbing on a tower, the junk boots that they gave me. I'd get off of work after being on that tower all day and you're standing on those grates. Oh, my feet would ache. So what happened is my arch was starting to collapse. My heel would hurt so bad. I never went and saw anybody for that, right? 'Cause I'm young, just a couple of days it'd go away, I'd be fine. And then it happened again and again. Anyway, that was the beginning of my plantar fasciitis. Now I'm old and my arches have completely collapsed. My plantar fasciitis is, anyway, it's not good. It's painful. So I filed a claim. My claim was denied. So they said, oh yeah, I see you have a current diagnosis. We agree that you have plantar fasciitis. Unfortunately, there's no nexus. There's nothing in your military records that stated you ever were seen for plantar fasciitis, for any kind of foot pain like that. So my claim was denied. So you need to have a nexus. Now, could I have paid money for a nexus letter from my podiatrist or from a specialist? Maybe. I didn't go that route, but I was denied for no nexus. Another reason they will deny you without hesitation is if you miss your CMP exam. When they schedule for your CMP exam, do not miss that exam. Instant denial. Another reason is sometimes VA makes errors. I mean, I've had myself, I had one of my claims, I stated that I was my migraine and I suffer from migraines. Oh my gosh, too many to count. I probably have 5 to 10 a month. And when I sat down, I was actually called over the phone from the CMP examiner, and I stated, this is how it affects me, this is how often they occur, all of this. I provided medical evidence for that. And when I got my rating, it showed right there, I've got this rating because I only suffer from headaches once a month. Well, I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I would assume everybody gets a headache at least once a month. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I only got a headache once a month, I wouldn't have even filed. I mean, I don't think that anyway. So it was an error. It was a VA error. It wasn't my fault. All of the information I provided was accurate and true, and it showed that I got more. So what I ended up doing, and we'll talk about that, is I ended up doing a higher level review, which they caught the error, correct the error, and increased me. So, but it does happen. Sometimes the VAs your claim will get denied or get lowballed just because they made an error. I mean, they're human. And then lastly, if your symptoms aren't documented correctly. So we'll talk about migraines. So the VA is very specific. In order for it to be considered impactful or disability, the migraine has to be frequent. They have to be prostrating, which if you get migraines like me, that means you have to lay down. Like I have to lay down in a dark room with a pillow on my head. It covers my ears. Just do not move because light, sound, everything is it's awful. So they have conditions that for every disability, there's going to be conditions. And if your symptoms don't match the conditions that the VA is looking for, that's going to also cause you to be lowballed or to be denied. Now, we talked about the VA and about how they rate, how they give you a percentage for each disability. And what a lot of people don't understand is the math behind the VA. They think it's just funky math, and when I explain it to you, it is kind of funky in that you think that if I've got 70% for PTSD, 10% for tinnitus, and then 30% for bad knees, right? That's 110%. I should get 100% disability. No, that's not the way the VA works. So they take each rating. So let's say your first rating was 10% for tinnitus. That means 10% of your body is disabled, 90% of your body is good. And then let's say your next claim is a 50% claim. They award you 50% for migraines, for example. That's 50% of the remaining 90, which would be 45%. So that 45 goes with the 10. So now you're at 55% disabled, 45% abled. So all those percentages go to what's remaining, what's not disabled. So it gets kind of confusing, but that's how the VA ratings work. And so they also round up. So if you have, let's say in that scenario I just gave you, you would be 55% disabled. They would pay you at 60% disability. So in order to get 100% disability, you have to be 95% disabled or above. The VA ratings, symptoms versus diagnosis, it all comes down to how they formulate that DBQ, and that's what the rater is going to look at. When you did your CMP, your specialist filled out this database, this disability-based questionnaire for your, let's say for tinnitus, for example. They filled this out, and okay, here's your symptoms. This is what is happening. Does it match the diagnosis? They yes. Okay, that's it. They're going to give you a rating based on that. Now, after you receive a rating or a denial, you have three mechanisms that you can use to fight that. Let's just talk about a denial, right? The first one is what they call a supplemental claim. The supplemental claim is that the VA denied you because there's no nexus, or the VA denied you because there was lack of evidence, right? It's lack of evidence. Well, maybe you forgot to upload your medical records or something. You can submit what they call a supplemental claim, which means your current claim that was denied, you can reopen it and attach additional evidence and then resubmit. And so the VA will look at it as a supplemental claim. And this is also how they're going to look at like an increase if you're trying to increase your rating. But they're going to look at a supplemental claim and they'll say, okay, we're going to base that on they're going to relook at that claim. Another one, which I talked about what happened with me and my migraines, was called a higher level review. So the higher level review, you can just click a button and request a higher level review. You can do it with a conference, a video conference, which tends to take longer because there's more people that want to do that. Or you can just say, listen, just have somebody else look at this. Here's all the information. I'm not adding anything. So it's not a supplemental. I just want someone else to look at it. So what a higher level review is they take a seasoned rater and they'll say, okay, they're going to give him all of your information, him or her, and they're going to relook at from fresh set of eyes on everything and see if they would have rated the same way. Or if there was a mistake made, they'll catch that mistake. In my case, that's what happened, and 2 months is all it took, and I was fine. Lastly, if that all fails and your HLR was rejected again, you can request a board appeal, which is like a judge. And if that was the case, then I would probably recommend that you get some legal representation, that you pay a lawyer to go through it. And that's a much longer process. But anytime you're going to mention a judge, then I would suggest that you have a lawyer or somebody to represent you and make sure that goes in your favor, or at least puts you on the right path to go in your favor. But that's basically what you can do should you be denied or should you have received lower than what's expected rating. you need to make sure that you choose the right path. And we talked about that. Do I need to just add additional evidence? If I know it's a blatant error, I'll take this path. If I need to do add evidence, then I'll do a supplemental. If I know it was a VA error, a blatant VA error, I'll do an HLR. If all else fails, and I'm firmly believe that the VA is at fault or that they're denying me when they shouldn't be, then I would then go to the appeal board again. So there's also a bunch. We talked about attorneys, about paying somebody to represent you there. I want to highlight another avenue, another underutilized avenue, and that's what they call the VSO. The VSO is a veteran service officer, and so your VSO can help you. Oh my gosh, they can help you. They can help you file. They can help you understand the process. They can answer all of your questions, most of your questions, if not all of your questions. They can tell you, what to do, what not to do, based on your information, based on your medical records. They're a very valuable source, and it's free, and it's for you. So before you make the mistake and pay some company to do this for you, you have this video to help you get started. Then you also have a VSO standing by. Make an appointment. Go sit down with them. This is the, you sit down and say, okay, in your head, I'm thinking about filing claims for this, this, and this. The VSO, ask them, what do you think? Here's my current diagnosis. Here's all this, da da da. And they'll go through and say, yeah, I think you're right. I think you should file. In addition, I also think you should file for this or that or this. They're well versed in everything. Going back to my situation with plantar fasciitis, when I was doing mine, I got lucky, and my CMP person goes, hey, why didn't you file for ingrown toenails? Well, I said, well, I don't typically suffer from ingrown toenails. She goes, well, I'm looking at your medical records, and you actually went and were seen for, I forgot all about that. Yeah, when I was a kid and I was in tech school, I bought shoes that were too small. I got ingrown toenails in both feet. I ended up having to get them cut out at the clinic, but that was in my records. I'm like, of course, I don't suffer from ingrown toenails, so that's not a claim I do. But I had no idea you could even do that. So there are so many claims that you can submit for that I don't even know about. And you probably don't as well, but your VSO likely does. So use your VSO. Contact them, and it's good. And again, please pause before you pay somebody to do this, before you pay another company to do this legwork for you. It's really not worth it, and they take a lot of what you deserve, your compensation away, and I don't want to see that happening. And then lastly, I'm going to leave you with some final tips that I think you could use for winning. Number one is be persistent, right? So if you have 5 claims you think you want to submit, for example, then get organized. Let's start submitting them. I personally only submit one claim at a time. The reason that I did that is because let's say you have 5 claims and you submit them. The VA is going to automatically merge them into a single massive claim. And that means even though you'll have 5 different CMP exams you have to go through, all 5 different raters for each of these claims, they're not going to be combined, or they're not going to be released to you until all 5 are closed out, which can be a much longer. I'd like to know each claim has been addressed and completed before I move on to the next one. Do I need to, if I didn't get the rating I wanted, I can do an HLR, I can do this supplemental claim, but I like to do very serially, one at a time. That's me. You do you. There's nothing wrong with submitting all the claims together. It's just be expecting it's going to take a lot longer. And maybe in the end it may be shorter, but I like the gratification of completing each step along the way. But anyway, be persistent. Do what you need to do. Make sure that you have everything you need. All the evidence, current diagnosis. If that means, okay, let's say, for example, now that you've been hearing my video and you're like, I have ringing in my ears. I think I've got tinnitus, which most people do, especially those that worked on a flight line or something where you were exposed to loud noises. I'm pretty sure when you talk to your primary care physician, you probably never mentioned that to them. So you don't have a current diagnosis for tinnitus. So that means when you go and see maybe this will spur you to go meet with your primary care physician, but you need to tell them about all of these ailments that you have so that they can document it and it will be in your records. So you have a current diagnosis. So be persistent. Stay organized. We're talking about a lot of appointments, whether they be through your primary care physician, specialists, whatever it may be. As you gather this evidence to support your claim, stay organized, because it's easy to start getting scrambled. Did I put a lay statement together for this or that, or, whatever. So stay persistent. And lastly, don't quit after one denial, because I understand the frustration, because you're kind of being vulnerable, admitting to this disability. And if someone says, no, you don't have it, I know what that feels like, because it's happened to me and it's frustrating. And I invested time and effort into putting this claim together, gathering all this evidence and doing that. And I know, like in my case with plantar fasciitis, I know that I had all that, but it was still denied. So don't let that stop you. Move on, move forward, keep going. Anyway, I hope this helped you. If you want, I'm a veteran. I support veterans. I like to do some veteran focused content. Mostly I do fishing, and I have a little sub-series of fishing where I take a veteran fishing and stuff. But I know this is something that my wife's been pushing me to do. I've helped a lot of people, and I hope this helps you. But please, like and subscribe. That's all I ask. If you have any questions, I respond. If you need some help on the side, what are our thoughts on this or that? I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. So if you got a question, please. And if this helps you, or if you think there's something else you'd like to talk about with veterans, please drop me a line. Let me know. I'm all for it. So anyway, again, this is Old Man. Stay safe. I'll catch you next time. Bye.